All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to try to get this to go live here on Instagram as well. There we go. That should be starting up. So thank you for your patience. Here we are. It is Wednesday, July 16th, and I wanted to just take some time here. We've had a lot of questions rolling in about Motomania, this 2025 series. We've made a few little changes to it, but they're going to be big implications for you guys. We've added some more money classes, so you can actually go home with more than you left. I want to go over that stuff with you guys, go over the schedule with you, just make sure I break down everything because we've had so many calls. We had a lot of bookings already. Things are swimming along here. You probably hear in the background, kids camps on break. So some kids are playing ping pong right now, and we just had lunch. It's been a great summer out here. So I hope you're having a good one. We're meaning to actually go live for some time here, but it's just been really that busy. So I haven't been able to go live as much as I would like to. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump in. If you have questions, just feel free to drop them in the comments. If I don't get to it right here, I will come back to it. I'll probably even answer your questions throughout this. And if you are a racer or a rider or a fan of Cycle Ranch, if you could share this so that it gets out to as many people as possible. We're doing some creative things out here, and I want to know if you guys like them, what you like about them, and what we could also change. So where we can always improve, because that's focus here is always just be getting better from wherever we're at. We do our best, and then hopefully we can do even better tomorrow, and we can do that with your feedback. It's a huge part of this. So for Motomania, the first round is this Saturday night. So we're going to have open practice tomorrow night on the night track. And for those of you that don't know, Motomania is a nighttime series, Saturday nights. There's 4 rounds, and it's all about getting the families together, getting the racers together, put on some good racing, and really helping bolster motocross here in South Texas, and give you guys something to do on these hot days, right? So we do it in the evenings. So we'll have 4 rounds between this coming weekend, July 19th, all the way until October 18th, which is some really cool news on that. So you want to stay with me. I'll share that as we get closer to those dates. So what we've done, and let me give you guys some history. Let me give you some history to give you an idea of where Motomania came from, because it's actually really relevant. So when we first launched Motomania, it was 2013, and in the world at the time, one organization was just growing so much, and that was the WWE. You guys might know WWE, and I grew up watching WWF, which then became WWE, and their ability to market and get people interested in a sport that people weren't necessarily interested in was just phenomenal. So I did a lot of studying of that, and the idea behind Motomania was to create kind of our little wrestlers of motocross, to attract new people into the sport, to attract spectators into the sport, to make it more entertaining for everybody that came along that wasn't racing, because there's kind of a barrier to entry to motocross, in case you didn't realize. Like, it's usually one person in the family got into it, got addicted, loves it. If you're lucky, maybe it's 2 people, right? We have a couple families out here that have actually met at Cycle Ranch, and they're 3 generations in riding out here, and we definitely have that aspect of it. But for the most part, it's usually one person, either the dad or one of the kids, that's just like, I love moto, and the whole family kind of comes along. So looked a lot at what WrestleMania did, or WWE did with WrestleMania, in terms of bringing all their best top wrestlers and making an entertaining show so that the spectators would actually want to come out. Because if we can get spectators out to support the track and support the sport, then we can give you guys more awards. We can do more for you here at the track. So if we actually have people coming to watch, we can invest more in the things that you love, whether it's more tracks or more awards, or more changes to the facility, or more upgrades in the facility. So the idea is, how do we do that? So Motomania was kind of birthed from that idea, and things that I and a few other people got together and saw with WrestleMania, and I had some friends that were really into it, so I picked their brains on it. And then also at the time, I had previously just had sold my advertising company. I talked to some of the top players in that world to create this theme, right? Now, coupled with that tandem, side by side, was I had also just recently came from traveling around the country in an RV to a bunch of different motocross tracks. I think they're probably 50, 60 tracks over the course of 2 years. So pretty much was probably a little more than one a week. Some of them I repeated, so that's why it's probably 50, 60 in total. And one of the places that I came upon that was just phenomenal in their racing. The track itself was not like any kind of epic track. The facility didn't have a whole lot of stuff to offer, but their racing program was, bar none, probably the best that I saw for amateurs. That just consistently every single weekend had a show. There was actually a second one, but the second one was PIR in the Pacific Northwest. And on Thursdays they race, and they literally have 500 to 1,500 people out there actually racing on weeknight. Right? It's insane, and not just racing but spectating. It's in the middle of Metropolis, so it does really well. But the one that I'm thinking of, racers like that you might know. Tell me if you know any of these guys. Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart, recently RJ Hampshire, Chad Reed, Ryan Villapoto. These guys, Ryan was mostly West Coast, but when he was, because he was by Washuga, but when he was East Coast, he was over at this same track several times, and he's been there since. And now they even host a day of the dirt, and that's Dade City Motocross. Dade City Motocross. You guys probably also know Tyler Livesey of Champ Factory, or MX Champ. Oh, sorry, MX Factory, right here in Texas. And that's what actually I met him and actually sponsored him in a series at Dade City. And through that sponsorship, I made great friends with the owner, Randy Yoho. This guy was a great motocross trainer, had this amazing facility, and knew how to put on a show of racing. So I looked at the program that he had, and he gave me all the keys to the kingdom in terms of how he modeled this entire event and how he grew it and how he got the public involved in it and the scene that he was able to create with amateur motocross. Now, that's in Central Florida, right? So they're just outside of Orlando, just outside of Tampa. So there's like a massive influx of people there, right? But what I said, if we can create something that feels a little bit like this, looks a little bit like this, and also take what WrestleMania has done for the WWE and bring in new people to it. Like if we can couple that, we can grow the sport of motocross. And the first year we did this in 2013, we just built a night track. And I kid you not, we had people traveling from Dallas consistently to come out for Wednesday practice. Like people would do a 5-hour drive just to come out to our Wednesday practice, and they'd come race it. And the racing was off the charts. If you guys go back in YouTube, we have actually shared a few videos of the racing of Motomania back in 2013, 2014. It was like intense, high competition. Several of those racers went on to be pro racers or start training facilities, and just really, really talented individuals. It was gangbusters, bar none, like one of the coolest series that we had here at Cycle Ranch. Well, 2016, I leased out the track. I stepped away. We didn't have this anymore here, right? So I brought it back last year, kind of just as an intro to it. And one of the big distinctions is we kind of found a loophole to be able to pay you guys out, to pay the amateurs to be able to race, right? So that's the big thing is this sport. There's a lot of big things, but one of the big things is that this sport is expensive. It's expensive to get to the races. Actually, the racing is probably the least expensive part of the time. Part of the whole process is just the racing itself. The race entries compared to the gas to get there is significantly lower, right? But bike maintenance, buying the bikes, the trailer, the truck, the RV, everything that goes into it, all the things that the people that race, whether you're a parent with a little, or you are a vet rider doing it yourself, or a teenager, college person doing it yourself, it's expensive and it's time consuming, and you have to invest a lot of time, energy, and money into this, right? So I think, as also a racer, not just a track owner, right? I'm a racer before I'm a track owner. I really think that you guys should be getting rewarded more, right? You should be getting, racers should be getting paid to do this and be paid handsomely. So how do we do something for the racers? Well, AMA rules are you can't pay cash to any amateur racer. If I pay cash to an amateur racer, it doesn't matter if you're 5 years old or you're 50 years old, now you are deemed a pro racer. Now you have to race expert class all the time. But guess what? It doesn't give you your pro license. You can't go race a national. You can't go race a supercross. You just have to show up at a local race and your pro-ams and earn enough points to be able to become a professional racer, even though you're technically a pro racer because you got paid $100 one time, right? So that's the way it works. And I understand why they do it. It's no fault on their own. It's I think it's the same thing with college, basketball and college sports. You can't pay an athlete until they are deemed a professional athlete, and they're probably modeling something like that. I don't know their ins and outs. Certainly not complaining about their structure. I'm just saying that's the parameters. So if we paid you out money, even if we give you a whole shot award, technically you got paid to race. Now you are an expert racer. So what is the loophole? Well, what do the manufacturers do? The manufacturers give you a debit card, right? They give you contingency, and it's good as cash is on a debit card. And that's what we did last year. We launched it with Motomania, and we had the Ultimates class and Mini Mania. And the Ultimates class is a open pro, non-pro, right? And the concept behind this class is anybody 14 and older can race this class on a big bike, right? So 125cc and up. You can be D class, you can be C class, you can be B class, you can be A class. And you can actually win a gift card. So last year we did it where it was a debit card that was as good as cash, and it worked really well in a lot of ways. There was a lot of hiccups with the banking that made it a little bit challenging, and we had to do a lot of resets with it and get it all worked out. I think we have it solved, but every once in a while someone will call me and say, I got my gift card, but it doesn't work. And we have a way to fix that. So if that's you, please let me know. I won't know that it's not working for you unless you let us know. But we have a new structure, and I'll get to that, how we're going to do it for this year, because we've also added some classes. So the Ultimates is the open pro, non-pro, 14 and over, 125cc and up. I don't care if you're D class, C class, B class, A class, doesn't matter. You can come, and you can actually, top three are going to go home with Cycle Ranch, as good as cash, gift cards that you can use here at Cycle Ranch for race entries, practice, training, tires, anything we have in this pro shop, smoothies, whatever we have here, we're going to give that to you. So that's the Ultimates class, and the way we're actually paying it out is going to be off the number of entries. So you could have 20 race entries, and we're paying 100% payback. So if you have 20 race entries, that's about $1,000, just a little less than $1,000. I got the math here somewhere else, but that's less than $1,000 that we're going to pay out to you guys for the open pro, non-pro class, right? So this is all of you big bikes. The other thing that this gives an opportunity for that really was important to me, and probably a lot of you, because I hear it all the time. There's always a question about that C rider, he's the sandbagger. He should be in the A class, or he should be in the B class, or that B rider should be in the A class. And we hear it all the time. And I understand why people stay back in classes, because we have this Loretta Lynn's race that everybody wants to go to and do well at, right? Everybody wants to go to, not everybody, most everybody wants to go to Loretta's though, and they want to go do well. It's one of the big goals. What ends up happening is you have two different types of C riders. You have your local C rider or local B rider, and then you have your national A rider, B rider, C rider, right? And there's a stark difference between those. Your local C rider is probably as fast, maybe even faster than a lot of your local A guys, right? So now all of a sudden we end up with these people that are racing novice class, C class, which is supposed to be beginner class. I know Texas has a beginner class. It's a whole other conversation. But they're supposed to be a beginner. They're supposed to be like just figuring out racing in C class, but they can come from dead last, start backwards, and win the race by 20 seconds because they're so much faster than the rest of the C riders that are just learning and getting their bearings. Honestly, I think this is a great disservice to the sport because it makes a bigger barrier entry. Because why would you go race against those kids that should be technically an A or a B rider, right? So that kind of becomes like people don't want to race. They just don't want to get. They're like, I'll just practice. Like I don't need to get 15th in C racing against A rider. They're still running the top 10 speed of the A riders. I totally get it. I totally get it. So this open pro, non-pro, and it's not going to move you up and accelerate. So that C rider gets to go race against an A rider and see where they really stand without the consequence of being pushed up to A. And they actually get to race against real competition for them, right? And the same thing with the B riders. And there's a reward for doing it because if you actually do it and you do well, you get paid out in as close to cash as we can give you, which is the gift cards to everybody needs fuel for their bike. Everybody needs tires for their bike. If you're riding motocross, you're going to need a tube. You're going to need an air filter. You're going to need something. If you're coming to cycling, excuse me, I got a little cough. You're probably going to need food at some point. Whatever you want to get training, you can use it for anything. So that we have here. So that's how we're structuring it. So I really invite all of you C riders, B riders, that especially if you're going to Loretta's, this year, come race this race. This is such a good warm-up. You'll be racing against some fast folks, and you'll really see where you stand without having all these denominations separate you. Because we're not just, some of you guys might just be racing for a trophy or a plaque on your wall, and that's cool. Some of you just racing because you love to race. And some of you are racing because you see this as a path to becoming a career for yourself. And if that's what you see, is if you want to progress at the top level possible, you need to race. We all need to race. If we are in that, I'm going to say we, because I'm still there at 47 years old. I've raced the open pro sport at Gator and also Tex-Mex. And I will probably do that upcoming in the Texas statewide series, which is another good series. Make sure you have your eye out on. So why is it that I'm 47 years old and I'm racing that class and I'm not getting last. I'm still beating a few people. I'm in there competitive, but then there's C riders out here that they can put me to the test. Sometimes beat me, right? So even a B rider coming out and beating me like that shouldn't really happen. But it's this dichotomy we have because we have local riders. So open pro, non-pro, for all of you big bikes to race together, regardless of denomination, and still get some kind of reward. If you have improvements to that, I am all ears. Drop them in the comments. I would love to hear them. But that's what we have for the big bikes. But that's not where we're stopping, right? That's not where we're stopping. That's just where we're beginning in this conversation. Because last year we also had the Mini Mania class. And the idea of the Mini Mania class is to get all the fast mini riders the ability to be awarded while they're racing. So it's kind of the same format where, well, it's open mini, 9 to 15, 85cc and up, right? But you're also going to get paid back in the gift cards. So this will actually give you a chance to pay for your racing, pay for your tires, maybe even pay for your fuel to get here, depending on how far you live away. But when there's money on the table, things change. The competition level goes up. People really, really, really push and go a lot harder than when it's just a trophy or a plaque. So we wanted to be able to create that kind of environment, and that's why there's Mini Mania, and that's your 12 to 15 85cc class, right? And it's just a cool way to actually get the taste of what it feels like to be on a pro level, even though it's not millions of dollars like the Super Motocross has. It's got some bite to it. It's got something you can sink your teeth into and a reason to just push a little bit harder. And you know what? You could go home with more than you came with. And that's one way to reward you. And And those classes, very successful. Last year, there was a little bit of confusion around Mini Mania. People didn't realize it was the open mini class, right? So I'm hoping to address that here and make sure you guys please share that is the case. But now we've also added 2 more classes, right? Because you all are important to us. And I'd love to make all the classes this way, but we got to somehow make enough money to pay our staff and be able to run a race and all that stuff and be able to pay out this. So until we have 1,000, 2,000 spectators coming through the gates, which you could be the key to, you could help us get that, right? Imagine if we had 2,000 spectators come through the gate and they all paid $15 a head. Wow. All of a sudden we got $30,000 coming through the gate. $30,000. Do you think I'm going to charge you race entries? Probably not. Or if I do, it's going to be like a $5 thing or something super cheap, right? So if you can help us get people to come out and watch the race and engage with spectators watching the race, not only do some of them become riders and racers, but that revenue can go towards giving something back to you riders. So the 2 other classes now that we added was we now have Vet Mania, which is a plus 30 class, and that's A, B, C, and D. So if you're 30 years old or older, you race that. If you're under 30, you're 29 years old, go race the ultimates. There's a lot of plus 25 guys that are so fast. There's plus 30 guys that are so fast too. But there's even plus 40 guys out there just hauling the mail, right? So truth be told, there's some plus 50 guys out there that they're flying these days. But we're kind of separated at that. So 30 and over, you can come race that plus 30 Vet Mania class and be able to get paid back some Cycle Ranch gift cards. And then we also added the 51cc 4 to 8. That's the 51cc open class, has also this gift card format. Again, a way for you guys to be able to take home some cash, something so these kids can actually see what it's like to win a little bit of money and be able to maybe decide how they're going to spend their money and manage their money. And it kind of puts things in perspective. And I know I've heard a ton of times out here, like parents saying, do you know how much money I spent on this sport? Like, I want you to give it your all, right? So I also know that my son is not super interested in this sport, but he's understanding the concept of money even at 5.5 years old now. And we have him do little chores. And when he can actually relate to making the money and spending the money on the thing that he wants to get, and then all of a sudden his money's gone, and he realized the thing that he wanted wasn't really what he wanted, and he would have rather have the money for something else, it changes the whole dynamic. And he starts to see the world in a little different place. So if we can create a way for your children to be able to start learning about money management and also consequences and rewards and, risk management and all the things that go into it, by rewarding them with some kind of gift card that they can now come up to the cafe and get that shirt, or they can get that toy that they were asking for, or they can, see how they do. They come up to the cafe, we have toys. Kids invariably ask, hey, can I get that motorcycle? You look at your 4-year-old, well, I guess it's 4 to 8, and say, hey, you win your class and you got money to be able to buy that toy. Right. So it gives it on them to be able to make better decision making. And that's, I think, long term, what we are really doing out here is, building community and building strong families, strong relationships. And that really starts by having the best interest for your children at mind. There's what we can do in the immediate moment with each other, but we're here for the long term. And we want to see this continue to grow so that in 10, 20, 30 years, people look back and their experience here helped them to be more successful in life overall. And that's what Motomania is about for us, is giving a way to do that. Yeah, we have 4 classes. We only have 4 classes doing this with the money side. We have a full range of other classes, by the way. Like, we have a full stack of classes. So even if you're not in those classes, we have the other normal classes. Those will be awards based. But these 4 classes are kind of the experiment. And hopefully next year we can make it 8 classes, right? If we get enough spectators out here, or we get a corporate sponsor, then we can do more for you. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments right now. I can see some of the comments, not all of them coming through. So I will check the comments on Instagram in a moment here. But there's another thing I want to share with you guys. There is one requirement, and the requirement is on the. Let me just take a sip of water. So I've had this little cough. Thank you. So on the non-gift card classes, what we are doing is you've got to race 3 of the 4 rounds, right? That's a normal thing to do in Texas here. You got to race 3 of the 4 rounds or 4 of the 5 rounds to be part of the championship awards, right? So we're 4 rounds, you can miss 1 round. One of the things, the ideas and pieces that I borrowed from Randy at Dade City, if you've been watching this whole thing along, was what he did was you got a sponsor to pay for all your rounds up front. And that's how he could guarantee the purses for everybody, right? So this way, if everybody's entered for all the rounds, then take a little bit from each entry, and that's what pays for that money, for that gift card or for that cash or whatever it is, depending on the class. So for the money classes, it's going to be all 4 rounds. You got to be in all 4 rounds. And you can have a sponsor pay for all 4 rounds. There's actually a product here that we have. And you know what? I think I can actually drop it in the chat. Let me find it real quick. Where you can actually sponsor a racer, right? So if you have your own business, you get to sponsor a racer, and you can set up a banner at the track, and this allows you to write that off as an advertising expense for the business and pay for all your race entries in the business. So I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, right? A lot of you guys are entrepreneurs. I'm going to drop this in Instagram first, and then I will drop it on I think this posted. There we go. And I'll drop it over onto the Facebook that allows me to from using StreamYard here. So this allows you to set up a banner. You actually are now an advertiser, and as a sponsor, you paid for all your rounds. Not only do you get all your race entries paid for because of this sponsorship, you get to display your banner out here. You get to write it off as an expense. And every entry, whether you race it or not, you're going to get 10 points towards the championship award. So you automatically get 10 points in the championship award. We do 100 back to 20 for everything from 1st through 9. So it's 100 points for first place. Second place is 90 points. Third place is 80 points, all the way back to 9th place, which would be 20 points. And then 10 and beyond. I'm sorry, I think it's 8. Can look. Give me a minute. But then everything back from that gets 10 points. So even if you can't come because you have another event, right? You can't come because you got injured. You can't come. You pay for the class, you're still eligible for the championship awards, and you get points towards that championship. And that's what I learned from Randy. And it made a huge difference in the commitment from the racers. It made a huge commitment long-term for this series. It made a huge difference in the talent that came out of Dade City. Like I said, Stewart, Carmichael, Hampshire, like these are from, my era to today's era, some of the fastest people come out of Dade City because of his format. It's not because his track, it's in a field. It's like in a big giant soccer field, and it's super tight, great racing, but it's because there's something on the line. There's a certain energy about it. It's just something really exciting. So we're doing that to replicate that here, right in little old Floresville, Texas. Something that is a little bit unique, but it's all about building things for you. So if you have questions, drop them in right now. I'm going to look and see what we got for questions on Instagram. If you've been just listening quietly along, thank you so much for being here and being part of this. If you shared this, thank you. And we got some new follows, so thank you for following us if you just started following us. Mr. Scepter says you should do is have a spectator line to get in a racer in case we're late. We can do that, but at the end of the day, if you want to make the line move faster, you can do everything online. So we actually added a new sign up front right now where it's got a QR code and you can just pay for everything. So when you get to the gate, you just show them your order number and they can plug that in and hand you wristbands. Like, it makes it super, super easy. I don't think sitting at the gate has been an issue. I understand, if you're coming from work on a Saturday or something like that, being late, you can also, if you're running late and you're racing and you've already pre-registered and you just need to get through the gate quick, call our number. Just call our number and be like, hey, this is me. I'm coming. Can I come in through the other side? And if you give us enough time, we can probably accommodate you. I don't want it to be a this is how everybody rolls up though thing, right? Because then it becomes very complicated. Like, we can't just accommodate people for being late, right? That's not realistic. But we can do it on occasion. So if there's an issue and you caught running late, let us know. We'll help you. We had somebody here show up for racing with 3 kids, him and 3 kids. So 4 people racing, and practice is underway. And I'm coming out of the cafe and I see him coming up to, he's like, yeah, I still have to register to race or sign in. He had already pre-entered, but he had to check in. And I actually ended up unloading the bike for him. I ended up unloading the bikes for him, getting his kids all set up. And I can't do that every time, right? But at that time, there was actually time for me to do it. And that's kind of the way we are here. We want to help you have a great time out here and make it as successful as possible. But we are also running on all cylinders, trying to get everything done with a limited amount of staff. I know it looks like to a lot of people that we just have a ton of money rolling in the gates. I guarantee you, for whatever dollars we have rolling in the gates, it's getting spent really quick. When you look at how expensive equipment is, it's expensive. People are expensive. We had some record-breaking months over the winter, and I was all pumped because we had numbers that I never thought we'd hit. And when all was said and done, we still spent 10% more than we brought in, and that was just a bigger number to figure out how to come up with. So that's the deal with that. As far as, I got Bo Johnson here asking what time do we need to be there. So it's going to race the shaft drive class. So we won't know the race order until we have everybody registered, right? We can't know the race order until we have everybody actually registered. So let me look and see the schedule here. So I believe practice starts at 4:00. There we go. I'll just pull up a document for it so I can give you guys the exact stuff going on. So getting to the schedule right now, and race pre-registration is open for all rounds right now. Pre-registration is open for all rounds right now. And just looking to get, this is a 17-page document. I'll be there in just 1 second that we have. So practice is starting at 4 p.m. sharp. All right. So registration will open the cafe at 2 p.m. We are open all day on Saturday, 8 a.m. We have open practice Thursday night on the night track, Saturday night on the night track. The night track will be closed during the day on Saturday so we can prep it. The national track will be open on Saturday. And practice for the night race will open at 4 p.m. And the practice order is 250cc, 450cc, 125cc. So big bikes first. Then we got, and we'll break that into 2 groups if we have a big turnout, right? So we'll break it into 2 groups, probably do like a B, C, D kind of thing if it's a big turnout. Then we have 51cc. Then we have 85, 150cc and women on small bikes. Then we have vet practice and women on big bikes. Then 65cc, mini E, and then the 50cc air cooled. So in your case, you're the last practice on Saturday. But we do plan on having the riders meeting at 5:15. So we have an hour of practice. You guys will probably a little less than an hour of practice. 5 o'clock, start making your way up to the cafe, pavilion, and then we'll do a riders meeting. And then you guys will have a nice 25-minute break. 5:40 is when we'll do open ceremonies, and racing will start at 5:45. We usually get you guys out and done by 11 p.m. Like that's the way the math works out. So unless there's any delays, we should have you out by 11 p.m. Sometimes it's 10:30, sometimes it's 11:30, but somewhere in that range. Depends on how fast the track is, the motos are, how fast the riders are, and so forth. So 2 o'clock is race registration. So I'd recommend getting here closer to that time and make sure you're set for the practice at 4 o'clock. And you guys can go warm up. There's turn tracks and there's a vet track and other things, the kids track, all going to be open. So you come practice during the day on Saturday. Like we have a full setup for the whole entire weekend here. Come stay with us. We have, I think, 3 or 4 RV spots left. So book that. But I think that's everything I want to talk to you about with Motomania. I know that there's other series out there. It's crazy. I just saw on my timeline before I got on here. Let's see if it's still up on my screen. I think there's like 6 races happening. No, I don't have it open anymore. But I think there's 6 races happening this weekend across Texas. And it's pretty wild because we make a big effort to work with all the track owners, and we put out our dates like very reasonable time. We look and see when they did it last year to make sure we're not on top of each other. And we actually, in fact, let me give you guys the updated schedule because we moved our races because a lot of people just started scheduling on top of us. And we're like, we had these out since January. So we moved our race schedule around a little bit. So let me give you guys that update because that's really important. We did it because there's no reason to schedule on top of each other. So there's definitely enough dates to be able to do this without having to be, on top of each other. So just pulling up this document here. So here's what we got, guys. Here's what we got. July 19th, this weekend. All right. Then we have August 9th. We have another Motomania. The September date got moved. The September date got moved. Sorry, I'm looking at an old document, so I want to make sure I give you the right one because it got moved to September 20th because when Texas statewide series came out, we would have been racing on top of, I believe it was Freestone, who's in our region, and it just didn't make sense. It was either Freestone or Murphy's, and we don't actually. I think it was Freestone or Murphy's, and then our October date was on top of Iron Dog, and somehow we're always racing on top of Iron Dog. So I moved that as well. So now our October date is October 18th. So July 19th, August 9th, September 20th, and October 18th. These will not change again. These are going to be the dates, rain or shine, July 19th, August 9th, September 20th, and October 18th. And October 18th, the finale is going to be off the charts because it's also our fly ride weekend, that whole weekend. So we have Weston Pike and Damon Bradshaw coming out for that. I'm going to see if I get them to race. I want to see if they'll come race you guys. So if you want to race with them, you probably want to be part of this series. So I don't know where you're planning on racing this weekend, or we're planning on racing this weekend. If you were even planning on racing this weekend or riding this weekend, but I hope that you guys come join us race with us this weekend. It's going to be really good. The tracks are phenomenal right now. We've gotten so much rain, so there's good moisture in there. The crew is excited about this weekend. I hope to see everybody out with us, doing what we do best, what we love to do out here. Come race with us this weekend, July 19th, and have a blessed day. No matter what you do this weekend, good luck and enjoy it.